When I look back at the summer that changed the way I viewed friendship, loyalty, and family, I often think about the day I went over to my best friend's house and heard his mom say those unforgettable words, "I'll pretend you're just helping me." It sounds strange out of context, I know. But the story behind it is one I'll never forget because it taught me about empathy, about carrying hidden burdens, and about how small moments of compassion can heal wounds that seem too deep to mend. My name is David. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio, and my best friend since middle school was Josh. We were inseparable. Basketball in the driveway until the sun went down, late-night gaming marathons, talking about our dreams for the future. Josh's house was my second home, and his family had always treated me like one of their own. But during our junior year of high school, I began noticing that things at Josh's place didn't feel the same. His mom, Mrs. Carter, her first name was Susan, was always kind and warm, the type of mom who remembered your favorite snack and asked about your day like she genuinely cared. But around that time, I started to notice that her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. She seemed tired, like she was carrying a weight no one else could see. Mr. Carter, Josh's dad, worked long hours and was often away on business trips. Susan worked part-time at a local clinic, but she still carried the full load of running the house, raising two kids, Josh and his younger sister Emily, and trying to hold everything together. One Saturday afternoon, I was at their house helping Josh with a science project. We were building some complicated model that required supplies from the garage. Josh went to pick them up, but he got distracted when one of his other friends texted him to come outside for a quick game of basketball. He told me, "Hang on, I'll be back in 10. While I waited, I heard movement in the kitchen. Out of habit, I walked in to see if Mrs. Carter needed help. She was standing on a stool, struggling to reach the top shelf of a cabinet. She had a box of dishes in her hands and looked like she was about to lose her balance. Instinctively, I rushed over and caught the box before it slipped. "Oh, David," she said with a sigh of relief, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Thank you. I don't know what I would have done if those had fallen." I smiled and set the box down on the counter. "You should have called me. I'm right here." Her eyes softened, and then she said quietly, almost to herself, "I'll pretend you're just helping me." I remember blinking in confusion. "What do you mean?" She looked at me for a moment, then quickly shook her head and laughed it off. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just talking to myself. Thank you for the help." But those words stuck with me. The way she said them didn't feel casual. It felt like there was a story behind it, something she wasn't saying. Later that evening, after Josh had gone to bed, I stayed over in their guest room like I often did. I couldn't sleep, so I walked quietly into the kitchen to grab some water. That's when I heard muffled sobs. It was Susan, sitting at the table with her head in her hands. There was a stack of bills spread out in front of her, and I could hear her whispering, "I don't know how I'm going to do this." I froze in place. I didn't want to embarrass her or intrude, but I also couldn't just walk away. Slowly, I stepped forward. "Mrs. Carter, are you okay?" She quickly wiped her eyes and tried to smile. "Oh, David. I didn't hear you. I'm fine, honey. Just tired." But I could see she wasn't fine. The weight she carried was spilling out in that quiet moment. And that's when she finally admitted something she hadn't told anyone, not even Josh. She explained that the family had been struggling financially. Mr. Carter's business trips weren't just about work, they were about trying to salvage contracts and keep his job. Their mortgage payments were behind. Medical bills for Emily's asthma treatments were piling up. And Susan felt like she was carrying the entire burden alone. "I don't want Josh or Emily to know," she said. "They're kids. They should just be able to live their lives without worrying about this." So when you helped me earlier in the kitchen, it just reminded me that sometimes, even when you feel like you're drowning, someone shows up at the right moment. That's why I said I'd pretend you were just helping me. Because in that moment, you weren't just reaching for dishes. You were reminding me I wasn't completely alone. I sat across from her, stunned. I had never thought about parents this way before. In my mind, adults always had it figured out. But here was Josh's mom, someone I'd always seen as strong and dependable, feeling scared and overwhelmed. I told her, "You don't have to pretend with me. I might just be a kid, but if you need help with anything, I'm here." She smiled through her tears. "That means more than you know." Over the weeks that followed, I started helping around their house more. Sometimes it was little things, mowing the lawn, fixing the leaky faucet, tutoring Emily in math. Other times it was just listening when Susan needed to talk. She never framed it as me taking on responsibility. She would just smile and say, "Thanks for helping," like it was the most natural thing in the world. Josh eventually noticed. "Man, you've basically become part of the family," he joked one day. "Mom says you're her second son now." What he didn't realize was that I was also learning lessons that would shape me for life. I learned that people can hide their struggles behind a smile, that strength sometimes looks like vulnerability, and that kindness doesn't always mean solving someone's problems. It can just mean showing up. By the end of that year, things slowly started to turn around for the Carters. Mr. Carter secured a stable position. The bills became manageable again, and Susan began to look like herself, lighter, freer, as if she could finally breathe. One evening, just before I left for college a couple of years later, Susan hugged me tightly and whispered, "Thank you for being there when I needed someone." I'll never forget it.
Neither will I.
Because that story isn't just about my friend's mom. It's about how life sometimes puts us in places where we're asked to carry each other's burdens, even if only for a little while. And sometimes, a simple act of kindness, disguised as just helping, can change someone's entire world.